levels, 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 and the Einstein formula. Hey, did let, let's do a little test here, a quiz. What is the most powerful force on Earth as stated by Einstein? Okay, I'm standing by for the answers. Can anybody tell me what did Einstein say was the most powerful force on Earth? No, it has nothing to do with E equals mc squared or any of that. It is compounding interest. He even realized that compounding interest is the most powerful force on Earth. So that's why I say all the time that trading and trading a bunch of prop accounts, other than FTT prop accounts, since they shut their doors, but really look at it. Look at all the prop firms in the US and abroad and how few of them actually close their doors. I always thought it was going to be like a third of them would disappear like every 2 or 3 months. And actually it hasn't been that. It's been most of them are still hanging in there. But anyhow, so if you can go and get a consistent amount out of the market every day, whether it's on your 5 TPT accounts or 3 Top Step Trader accounts or 20 accounts at Apex or 10 account 10 accounts at this place or 3 accounts at that place. It's the compounding effect of consistency day after day mixed with adding more and more and more accounts on trade copiers so that whatever trading you're doing on your, we'll just call it your master NT8 platform, talking out trade activity to your range of prop accounts, whether it's manual, discretionary, or automated, that's the formula. That's the formula to get dynamic revenue, which in a sense is like compounding interest rates or compounding interest, meaning month A, you're trading 1 account making X amount. Month 2, you're trading 3 accounts making X amount. Month 4, you're trading 10 accounts. And so you compound your capabilities and create dynamic income. So anyhow, so now what we're going to get into, and I started off by saying levels, levels, levels. I'm going to scream from the mountaintops, the top of this mountain actually. I'm going to scream off of it. Uh, I'm going to scream levels, levels, levels. The markets eat, sleep, and breathe levels. And then there's another formula. Grid MA alerts plus grid cloud equals profits. Yes, I'm going to show you. So let's dive in now that I've had a little bit of fun and wasted 3 minutes of your time on intro stuff. Let's dive into the meat and potatoes. So here is today's action. So that ended yesterday's action. That ended the prior day's action. November 12th. This was November 13th. And what did we have this morning? We had CPI news at 7:30 Chicago time. So CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange in Chicago. So 7:30 Chicago time, we had boom, we had a nice big run up on CPI news. And where did it run to? It ran to levels. It ran right up to a level. Here's a pivot, here's a pivot. Heck, there's even one from before where that red line is. Pivot, pivot, pivot. It ran right up there and did a levels test. So I don't advocate trading through the news release because the news could get bazonkers and you don't want to, just get in a position and have it fly off your charts. So we had a levels test. Then I like the market at the edges. I say in many videos, I like to play the edges of the road where the curbs are, and people that get hacked to death play the middle of the road where they get run over by cars. So there's a car going that way, and there's a car going that way. and so on. So the middle of the road is not my favorite place to play the market. Some people like the middle of the road. I'm a more extreme type of a human being. I like the edges of the road. That's just me. So, anyhow, let's proceed. So the market came up out of news. So it's not like it shut up here in 32 seconds, then you were hyperventilating and had to work a trade. And let's expand this a bit now that we're into just focusing. The main thing I wanted you to be able to see where there were prior levels from the 12th of the month and from going back the 11th and so on. So let's expand this a bit. We've got to keep that up here. We've got to keep that formula. Grid MA alerts plus grid cloud equals profits. So what happens? We came up and we ran and ran, ran. So now it's 7:30 news and then 7:46 Central Time. And just after 7:46 Central Time, we get rotation after the levels test. And it's not a sweep because we didn't sweep the level. That's a test. We came into the level and buyers disappeared. Here's the trade setup then to work the short side off of a levels test failure. In other words, we didn't break out. The grid cloud, which is in green and red, the grid cloud is green upside momentum, flips to red, and the grid cloud transitions through the grid MA alerts, which is the dots, the cyan dots and the Dodger blue dots. Right there, as that's happening, you can get in and work a trade. So you'd short the market there. You could put a stop, see the top of the cloud. You could use that for your stop. The tightest stop you'd ever want to use, see the flat spot on the grid MA alerts just above it. That would be the most narrow stop you'd ever want to use. That would be the wider stop. I would prefer to use a little bit wider stop and play with smaller position size. Give myself a little more wiggle room. At least in the beginning while you're trying to become proficient at this stuff. So let's kind of draw this out. We have the transition through, so let's say you got a fill right in this area price, and there's your risk. There's your risk right there to the from your entry point to the top of the cloud. That's the most risk because having a stop all the way above the pivot, you could do that if you're playing with one or two lots, but you don't really need that much risk. That's a lot of price distance. So the top of the cloud is a good visually efficient reference point. If you want a tighter stop, then let's get rid of that. If you wanted the tightest stop that I would ever recommend, go from your entry point to just above the flat spot area on the grid MA alerts. So now you're in the trade, and let's say, your stop is way up here. So now the next item, the next thing you're looking at is where's my 1-to-1 point? So if here was your stop and your entry, let's say, was right in this area price, that's your 1 unit of risk right there, from there to there. So when the market gets to 1 unit of reward, let's ballpark it. You're in here, you want to make sure any stop goes to break even plus. Then you're at 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 and maybe even 4-to-1. Once your stops to break even plus, what do you lean on to stay in this trade to the short side? Look at that. The Dodger blue dots on the grid MA alerts. Stay Dodger blue, Dodger blue, Dodger blue, all the way through a levels test on the downside. The second I'm doing a levels test, I don't even give a darn what the dots are. I'm covering in here. I'm getting ready. The second I see it lift It's either going to blow through right away or it's going to V on you and maybe come back a second time and blow through. I'm just going to be ready to grab it. I'm looking for the levels test to grab, and if I get a little bit of a level sweep or even a big one, that's icing on the cake. Now you've just, they say trading isn't about, ooh, I got to get in right here, and ooh, I got to get out right here. Oh, I've got to get 92.479% of that move, or I'm not trading successful. BS. Just grab 40, 50% of that move, and that's good enough. Progress over perfection. Yeah, it's nice to get in right at the rotation point. That'll make you feel really good, like you're really, really smart. Ooh, did you catch that low bounce today? Oh, I did. I was filled at 21, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? That's not repeatable day after day. What's repeatable is I have a confirmed visually efficient mechanism to know when to take shots at the market. So here's that pattern. Cloud, both lines in the cloud, both red lines passing through the flat spot. There's your short. That trade ran. Then we got a levels test. Bounced. Then we got a long setup. Both parts of the grid cloud are passing up through the flat spot and the grid MA alerts. And what is that doing? Cyan dots. Not till right here when you got a blue dot, you could bail on that trade, or you can just move your stop up to break even plus. So wherever your entry is, just move it up to break even plus. And you probably would have gotten blipped out in some of this chop round action. That's fine. No problem at all. What I do like though, after this movement, I like the fact that these pivots are getting higher and higher. So we got a V bottom, and then now we're getting higher and higher pivots. That's showing me some accumulation. And I love this big pullback right here, right back to that uptrending line of that accumulation. And then I get lift and I get another double greens through the flat spot in the blue. That was a really nice setup. I like that one today. I even like the little bit of the W setup we had right in here. So I'm always looking for W's to buy and M's to sell. So, M pattern, sell. Double M, sell. Now that's not as clean of a sell setup. I like the pattern better of the cloud passing up through the flat spots on the grid MA alerts. I like that better than the cloud straddling both sides of the grid MA alerts, like here. This is okay. It's just this to me usually means there's a bit more momentum to the move. This typically means it's a linear move, a little bit more of a back and forth in the uptick, downticking of price. This one, there's a little bit more bias. There's more upticks to price than there is downticks. So it's a little bit more linear in nature, at least in the beginning part of the move. So here was a beautiful short off a levels test, beautiful long off a levels test, a really nice developing trend continuation, pullback lift, good setup there. Then by gosh, what do we get later in the day? A level sweep. We swept the level. That level's been holding for a while, and what do we get? Cloud through the grid MA alerts to the short side and a nice rundown. And by then it's 2 in the afternoon, U.S. Central Time or later. What the heck are you still trading for? There's also a little cutesy little W pattern continuation there, and so on. There's all kinds of patterns here. Levels, and grid MA alerts plus grid cloud equals profits. There you go. All kinds of good setups today.